Now, some data are very important to the organization. So we should take into consideration that how our data will be handled in terms when there is a disaster, when their website is, where their server is hacked, how it will be handled. You should go through it, right? Certainly, because and if they have any plan or not, and for because these companies, like if that data is lost also in recovery, they will have some additional insurance or not. So if that cost is associated, what are the terms and conditions? That is why while going for any, like when you pay the money, we should study the terms and conditions really properly. And I repeatedly keep on mentioning the things, not only for the cloud service provider, the same thing should be followed for every asset you have, right? If everything you buy, you should like properly read the terms and conditions. Next is the we have the migration support, that was about the reliability and the performance. Next we have the next criteria, that is the migration support and vendor lock-in and exit planning. Now what does this term vendor lock-in means? So basically this vendor lock-in is a situation where you want to move to the other cloud service provider, but you want to like switch to some other cloud service provider, but you cannot, because the cost of migration to the other cloud service provider is very high. So what you do in contrast, you stick to that original one only. So you should make sure that when you go through such kind of documents, when you go through the agreements, it's easily mentioned, like you can properly migrate to other cloud services. Okay, so it's not been mentioned that because the cost becomes too high, right? Becomes sometimes incompatible with the other cloud services, because some cloud providers, they have their own unique components, like which will impact your migration. So you are as a result of you will as a result of it, you will stick to the original one only. You cannot move to the other cloud service providers. So we should try to avoid this vendor locking, okay, by ensuring that your chosen provider has minimal use of the proprietary technology. That means proprietary technology means since you think like I'm a one of the cloud service provider, I will have some specific components which are unique from others. Okay, so if we want to switch to other cloud service provider, that components will not be obviously present. So we must make sure to avoid this kind of situation. This the particular cloud service providers has limited. Yes, someone is waiting. 2%. Just wait. Just 2% are waiting. So to avoid such kind of situation where there are too much unique components are there in a cloud service provider, what we should do is we should minimize the use of cloud services limit our uh, limit our ability to migrate it. So we must from first only we should choose that have unique components are different. Okay, so that unique components are less. In that case, we are able to switch to other cloud service providers. Okay. Next is exit provisions. Just now I told you we should when we move to, suppose you are using one sort of service cloud service provider. Later if you wish to move to other service provider, because probably this that service provider will be more uh, compatible with your requirements. But if your exit policy, if you have not gone through before the exit policy, then that migration cannot be smooth. Okay, they will ask you, no, you cannot do that. They will charge you some money, you have to pay for it, you cannot move away. So we should make sure we have gone through the exit policy. It is clearly mentioned in the contact everything before you move to the other cloud service provider. That is why we should go through the SLS properly. What is the exit provisions? If we want to leave the service of the cloud service provider, the particular cloud service provider we are using, how we can exit that, when we can end the contract. So everything should be mentioned there. Okay? Next is business health and the uh, this one company profile. So this is the last criteria of the like 8 criteria. So business and company health. So as we know, going through only because your company, your cloud service provider is like they are following all the standards, all the technical and operational capabilities are good enough, it's a potential supplier, we can go through it. I know it's totally understandable, right? It's very important because it fulfills all the criteria, but please make sure that when you choose your choose their cloud service provider, it has some financial financial standard also. In the financial standard means, uh, suppose you can check in the whether this company will exist or not, whether this company does not like suffer from any financial problems, so that in some cases will be taken over by some other company and they will face their all their rules on us. So we should make sure that the company is financially stable and it has its name, and it have a decent business, right? That it is not a new one, that we can trust the company that it will stay in the long run, so we can go for it. So you see, Microsoft just have fed in a on some cloud service selection, they have mentioned service that the provider should have a track record of stability and be in a healthy financial position. Okay, if the company is stable, if not stable, and they are how, no matter how operational technical capabilities they much provide, but it is not stable, that means it will not it can not exist in the long run. Maybe it not suppose taken you have now taken the operator now. Okay, just wait, someone is waiting. You have chosen the cloud service now, but later in the maybe after 1 year the company gets taken over by some other company, then obviously your whatever services were provided by the current company will not be the same, may not be the same as the as the which will be followed by the takeover company. Let me take you an example. Suppose we everyone has heard of like the telecom industry, right? When Jio came, lots of the telecom industry got merged, or like it we everyone heard of, I think, what was the right, I forgot what the name, but like I remembered one thing. Telenor company, say Telenor, Uninor, like there was a company named Uninor. Okay, so Uninor was changed to Telenor, but when the okay, Sanjay, you want to say something? Okay, so what happened is, so what when Telenor come into picture, so when Jio came in, Telenor was just a startup. It was a new company. What happened? It got since Jio, everyone started using Jio, the other telecom companies they got hampered. Even I think BSNL such a it was a government organization. Still, it got hampered, right? Many of the employees are not getting salaries. So you can think the impact of it. Similarly, the Telenor, which was just a small startup, which was consisted of very few employees, like they got taken over by the Airtel. Okay, because Airtel now, if we have something, we have this Geo, we have Airtel. Okay, later I think now also we know, I think Hutch was there, that later became Vodafone, right? So this is how. But whatever the conditions whatever the probability, like not the provisions, whatever the provisions Telenor offered to the employees, okay, that may not be the same provisions may not be allowed by Airtel, because Airtel will have its own rules and provisions, right? So that is why when the company is taken over, so we must make sure that before choosing any provider, it has a stability in the market, the financial stability. I'm talking about the financial stability. So we should go, like, whenever we buy any asset or we go for any cloud service provider also, we must check that it meets the certain criteria, that it has stability, it has been in the if for us, if we check, so what happens we do is, we check that that company is in the market since last 5 years. That means if we want to go for any other company, like we know Amazon is a good one, so if we want to go, obviously we can go for it, IBM, but we cannot go with a startup, okay, because it is a new one. So you can obviously go, but it may be your risk. And also we must check that whether any like legal issue is running on that company. Okay, so it's very good things like if with legal challenges they face, we should. Okay. So obviously, because if some company, someone has done any case or not, all the legal issues, so we should follow these things. Also, we have night. Just I told you about the mergers and acquisitions. See, these things may not be mentioned in the SLS. You have to do your own research. Use your own research, like you can Google the information, like and the competitor, like get a good handle of the competitive position, where it stands, why you are choosing. So you have to. Okay, sometimes also like we have various social networking sites that we can help us, that we have talked about the LinkedIn profile, because in LinkedIn what happens is they give all the professional sides of the history of the management is revealed in that type. Okay, so in that case helps in the choosing the cloud service provider. Okay, so this was all about the criteria for choosing the cloud service provider, all the 8 criteria. Finally we are over after 3 days of the like going through the cloud service providers. Okay, next comes to cloud security. See, I have prepared the slides in such a manner, once you go through it you will understand. Okay, just go through it once. Okay, next comes the cloud security. Now what is cloud security? So you can see the definition is written. So it's basically an evolving service that provides many of the same functionality as traditional IT security. So similar to IT security, what are the services offered by, what are the things that will be done by IT team, that is IT security team, same things will be provided in the cloud too. That is protecting the critical information from theft, data leakage, deletion. These are the things that will be taken care of in cloud security. Next is cloud integration. So you like with the word cloud integration. The integration means to integrate something, right? To join together something. So here we'll go for like integrating the multiple applications, okay, to share the data in the cloud. So we have studied, right? We can because we need to re-architect, refactor, right? We have refactored the cloud migration we studied. So here also the like cloud integration, basically we will configure multiple application to share data in the cloud. So so it will basically involve some third party tools, or like we have written as name of the third party tools also, Stratroscale. So here you can see it will consist of some tools or technology that connects various application systems, repositories, and IT environments for the real exchange of data and process. So once combined, the data are integrated, cloud service can be accessed by multiple devices over a network via the internet. Okay. Moving to the last one is a cloud data portability. So portability, cloud data portability, what it means, transferring of data. So cloud data portability is basically the ability to easily transfer data from one cloud service to another cloud service, or between a cloud service customer system to a cloud service, in using a commonly electronic in a commonly used electronic format. So just we were mentioning, so whenever we go for the cloud service providers, one of the criteria was like it should be, data should be portable, that so that we can easily like able to migrate to other cloud service provider. Same is the right, it's the moving of data in that moving that there should be ease to move the data, that is known as the cloud data portability. So how can you achieve it? By the source supply, source service supplying the data in exactly the format that is accepted by the target service. So if you want, because when we were studying about the cloud migration, we have seen that we need to something refactor it. So that is why first we should match that whatever the our requirements and the data where we are going to transfer the cloud, where the cloud, have the same specification. In that case, we are able to easily migrate the data, right? And it is like we can easily go for this cloud data portability with the states commonly used available tools are there. So we have here the application cloud application portability. It's basically the ability, same like data portability, we have the application portability, right? So data was transferring of data, and here is the easily transfer of an application or application component from one cloud service to a comparable cloud service. We have studied about the lift and shift in the second chapter, which have like the same configuration of almost same as the physical configuration, right? So we can easily transfer in that case. So similarly, where if we want to move our application, our then we have to go for this cloud data portability. So it may, but application may require refactoring, right? When we were studying about the 7 factor. So this was migration of, so we have that the application may require recompiling or relinking for the target cloud service, but it should not be necessary to make it significant changes to the application. So it may always not be like necessary to like change the application code, but sometimes it may be necessary, like that is why it's written like that is why we are mentioning, I mean, should not be necessary. Okay, so this was all about uh, the criteria and cloud security, cloud integration, and cloud data portability and application portability. Now, any confusion in this part, then I'll be moving to, because I'll be sharing the slide today. Just go through it, and I'll start. I think someone has confusion. Deepesh has confusion in the SaaS part, so I'll discuss that today again. Please go through it. Okay, I'll just share with you people this slide today. Only this much was left. Any confusion? People are sleeping?
No, ma'am.
Okay, just wait. I'll just stop sharing and let me discuss this part. Let me just share it. Okay, so I'll discuss again this part like types of cloud services. So we know this types of cloud services. We have 3 types of services. We studied 3 types of services. That is the infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So okay, so you can see infrastructure as a service. So they will provide you with a infrastructure, that means a virtualized infrastructure where you can like let me give you an example of this cloud infrastructure. Let me tell you about you people might be using it. Suppose if you don't want to install Python, then Python, and you also don't want to install, I think you have heard about the like Python library Panda or NumPy is there. So if you directly want to use, because installing it may take time, it may take the infrastructure, but you want the same things that you need to like you read the like a running environment for it. So you can directly use for Google Colab. Okay, Google Colab is there where you can like run all your codes without like implementing like in your system. It will give you the feel that you are running in your own computer. Okay, it will use the same RAM. It will be, but that will be the virtual part. In the Google Colab, you need to use with your Gmail account only. So what happens is you get the infrastructure, whatever, like all the system specifications, what you have, it's run in there. Okay, so there you can like so your storages, all the like you can run your code. Like, have you heard of this Google Colab? Colab, Google Colab. Let me write in the chat. I think. Okay, just wait. Let me write in the. No, I think so. Okay. So please, you can just go through it today. Go Google Colab that I am writing. Just wait. I'm not on. Yeah. Okay. So once you can just type in your like browser, you can type this word Google Colab. You will get the infrastructure like you how we run in our system, right? How our in our physical system, we can get the same infrastructure there also. Okay, same environment there also, like but we don't need to, but it is saving our time, the time of installation and the headache. Like we have lots of problem with installation also, and the load it gives to the RAM we use, the storage space it takes. So instead of using in like storing it in our computer, we can directly use the Google Colab to run our codes, right? For any, like you have, I think everyone have heard of nowadays about the deep learning neural network. So this is the latest in trend, right? People in research are there working on this deep learning part. So all these things are, whether it's data science, you people are from cloud. Okay, so these cloud environments also, you can have some infrastructures. Okay, this cloud thing, Google Colab is nothing but a infrastructure as a service. Okay, it is free. Because before it was not free, but nowadays it is free. Okay, so what happens, it is basically a cloud computing model where virtualized infrastructure is offered to and managed for businesses by external cloud service providers. Okay, so just I said, like you can help it for like backup, recovery, monitoring, so clustering, internal web hosting, so anything you can use. I think godaddy.com is also there. You can get an infrastructure for like if you want to write blogs, so lots of things are there. If you want to run your code, just I gave you an example of Google Colab. Okay, now these are the some if you want to like professionally buy for it, okay, you can have this kind of services that will like think you don't need to install the thing. Okay, you you don't have to install the like softwares in yeah, so that service in your, not that infrastructure, that platform in your, not the word of, not this platform is not the word, but basically the framework into your system. Otherwise, if I want to run something on Python, you need to install it. Okay, I think the Python Jupyter you can install in your computer. So why to install it if I can directly run in Google Colab? Okay, so that is the infrastructure as a service. Next, we have a platform as a service. So many of you may get confusion that platform as a service is similar to infrastructure on a service, because platform as a service is built on IaaS, that is infrastructure as a service. Okay, so let me give you an example of the Google Colab. Google Colab is the infrastructure, but there I am writing Python Jupyter. That is a notepad we are running. That is the platform we are having. Okay, so I suggest everyone, yeah, if like if you can go through that Google Colab, I think you will have a better idea. So you can, in a way, you can say that platform is a service, is a infrastructure as a service also. Okay, because that a platform is built on the infrastructure. Okay, so that is why we can say it. So basically it will the PaaS environment and will enable the cloud users to install host data sets, development tools. So whatever the things, as I said, like notepad, like if you know Python, I'm not sure, have you heard of this like Python Jupyter? Python Jupyter, I think you people have studied Python, right?
About it.
Dipesh, have you heard of it, Python Jupyter? Notepad, no, sorry, notebook.
I am using Anaconda Spider, ma'am, not use Jupyter.
Okay.
But I have heard
Okay.
about it.
Yeah. So same thing. So Anaconda also you can do it in the cloud, right? Anaconda, I think you can directly type in the browser also, and you can write there your code. Though I have not used Anaconda, okay, I have used other things. So, but I am sure that Anaconda also you can go use the direct platforms, right? Have you used Anaconda in the online platform? Basically, this platform as a service, see, this infrastructure will give the framework for like the infrastructure, but on this infrastructure you can run many codes. So I just told you, you can run that Python, Jupyter. You can even run other things. You can run the compilers. We have the C compilers, I think GDB compilers are there. So lots of that can be your platform as a service. You can write the different tools are there, right? Even the SQL, if you don't want to go for the installing the MySQL, you can go for DB Fiddle or Oracle Fiddle, whichever you wish. So these things are there. So that will be to install the host data sets, like even development tools, analytics. So already you have something, and then you can go for the platform. Okay, that is the just a programming language or whatever you say is the thing. Okay, you have something called a Google Colab. At Google Colab, you will have this Jupyter. So Jupyter is the platform as a service. Okay. Probably I'll show you once the Jupyter framework, but I'll take time then because I can show you because I'm working on it, so I can show you. But I don't know, like you can share or not. Okay, probably in the next class. Tomorrow we have class, right? Tomorrow I'll be showing you the environment for this. I think then you will be much more clear about it. Okay, not today, maybe I'll share with you tomorrow the Google Colab environments. Okay, and we can show some code also. And I hope you people will use too. These things are very good things. Just wait. Yeah, I'll give a good like example tomorrow. These three differences will be more clear then. Okay, let me take the attendance for today then. What happened to this one, Mebarida and Tenzin? Can anyone tell me why they are not attending the classes?
Ma'am, their network connection is not good.
Okay. Okay, thank you everyone. So I'll discuss this thing. I'll share today's slide. Okay, of module 3, and then I'll discuss tomorrow the confusions. Okay. So thank you everyone. You all can leave now.